Let's talk to Santosh Rao, who's partner and head of research at Manhattan Venture Partners. Good to see you, Santosh. Welcome back to the programme. Talk us through how we got here. How did Disney's management end up in this fight?
Well, this is a typical fight. I mean, it's not unusual. There are some issues with Disney. Thank you for having me, first of all. There are some issues with Disney, and it required an intervention, you can say. There are issues of succession. They did not do a smooth job the last time. There are some issues with the content plate, just the full slate of content that they have, and they just need to. The profitability is an issue. So these are the three main things: profitability, content slate, and succession plan. They needed that thing in place. I think that's what's happening right now. I think Nelson Peltz is really pushing the company to get it there. He has a stake in the company, and he's helping the shareholders, I would say, in the end, because that's what the company needed. They needed to be pushed in the right direction to get their act together, which they are. And then the stock price is showing that.
So there are two men at the heart of this. We've got the investor, Nelson Peltz. We've got the CEO, Bob Iger. How different are their visions for Disney?
Yeah, I think Bob Iger is an experienced operator. He's done a great job, and he will continue to do well. There are issues. I mean, you can't disregard COVID, and can't disregard all the disruptions that we've had. So I think overall the market is just stabilizing. It's getting normalized, and he's there to execute it very well. There were some issues. The streaming was a big disruptor, and he needed to get the company to that side of the market as well. So there were a lot of changes, structural changes going on, and I think he's been doing a good job. He will continue to do well. He's the best man for this job at this point. He said he's going to be there for another couple of years, which is great. We needed that. This is not really a profitability play. It's a content company. You need real execution, real thoughtful execution, not just blanket changes. So I think that's what he's doing. He's well entrenched. He knows how it works. He's done it in the past, done it for so long. So I think that's what you're going to see. He's much better. Nelson Peltz is there just to prod, just like any activist investor is there. We're not sure whether he's there for profitability or just to really make a change. Is he a disruptor or is he really meaning well? But I think at the end of the day, we don't know how the dust will settle in terms of the voting, but the shareholders are going to come out much happier at the end of it. The stock is going to reflect earnest desire by the management.
So this AGM happening at the moment, we're not expecting a result now, but perhaps within the next hour. But what will happen next for Disney? It's been a really difficult few years altogether. We think, from what we can ascertain, that Bob Iger is likely to stay in the driving seat. Can the company and he put this behind them?
Absolutely. I think he will. He can do it. All bets are that he's going to win. The Disney board, their slate is just going to win. So at best, he might get a seat, but we're not sure about that as well. But I mean, we had a similar incident in Procter & Gamble where he really pushed the company to get the management changes, and he got that. Kind of get the structure right. So he's going to get some changes, good changes on the edges. But I think essentially everything is going to stay the same. He's going to have, I think what this thing has done is the company has defined its strategy, laid out its strategy, what it wants to do. So there's some cash flow at the end of it. He's going to hit his targets in terms of free cash flow, in terms of streaming business, instant stray on the parks and all that. So all the things that Nelson Peltz wants, I think Bob Iger is going to execute on that. So there's no question of replacing him or disrupting anything. It's just a question of executing at this point.
And what about investors? Will they be happy to put this behind them, and will they be happy with the potential results?
Absolutely. I think he will get the benefit of doubt. He has a good history behind him. The investors will be happy. I mean, you saw already the stock price was languishing in the 80s and 90s. Now it's up to 120, 125, and on the path to move ahead as profitability picture seems to be improving. And he's raised the prices. He's done everything right. So he's put the right things in place. So I think now it's just a question of executing. And for the shareholders, it's just a question of waiting and seeing and let it rip right now. So and not just be impatient and sell off, because things are in place. So there's no question that he will execute.
And this hasn't been the only drama for Disney, has it? The CEO left, then came back. There's been criticism by Peltz that Disney has been slow to adapt to industry changes, including, as you mentioned, streaming. Is this something that the company can deal with?
Yes, and that's a challenge. Netflix is the big challenger there, but you have to get into. That's the new transmission. That's the new mode of consuming content. So you absolutely have to be there. And I think behind Netflix, Disney is the only competitor. Others are still languishing way behind. So I think that he's doing the right thing. It's expensive. I think he's right now, it's in place. He has the library. He has the content. He just has to get it all together. In terms of Hulu and all those changes going on there, just integrate all the assets and get it together. So I think there is some work to be done. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but I think they have a plan at this point, and they have someone watching them very closely. So Peltz has put them on the line, and they have to execute at this point. So if they don't, I think Iger knows that his days are numbered. And then the company is going to get hit badly, because at this point they've said they're going to execute on certain things that Peltz will be happy about. He's addressing every issue that he wants. And so now let's just wait and see.
Santosh, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us today. Santosh Rao there from Manhattan.